in Africa have used LGBTIQ community as scapegoats a lot of the time. And this is cross-cutting in a number of African countries. And we've seen this, in the most obvious way has, of course, been through like the negative rhetoric against the LGBTIQ communities. So like some of the narratives that are rife is, LGBTIQ community and anything that relates therein is like of Western influence, contrary to our religion, and African, you name it. So, these important to remember that these reckless utterances are being perpetuated, and it's not only by governments, but also by other actors as well. And with total, absolute total disregard for the safety and well-being of the LGBTQ community. So in this discussion, what we are really looking to do is to interrogate different discourses and the constellation of actors that have emerged in Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, and Uganda. And we'll also be reflecting on the different strategies that are being used by the political class and other actors that we're going to identify, and what impact really this has had on the LGBTQ community within those three countries. We'll also look at, what can we do, and what has been done already, and what can we do, and what more needs to be done in order to counter this like state-sponsored homophobia. So to shed more light into the discussion that we're going to be having, we invited four panelists. Four panelists from one from Kenya, one from Nigeria, one from Ghana, and one from Uganda, who are going to be sharing with us their perspectives. So from Ghana, we have Davis Mac-Iyalla, who is an award-winning interfaith minister and founder director of the Interfaith Diversity Network of West Africa. And then from Nigeria, we have Eudora, an intersex, gender equality, and sexual rights activist, a feminist who is passionate about women and human rights. And they are currently a UN Religion Fellow at Outright Action International. And from Kenya, we have Jackson Otieno, an East African activist with extensive programming experience in sexual and reproductive health rights and human rights defenders protection. From Uganda, we have Joanita Wari, the executive director of Freedom and Rome Uganda, and the founder of the Faithful Catholic Souls Uganda, which is a support group that brings together LGBTIQ Catholics, families, friends, and allies in Uganda to help the movement reconcile their faith. So without further ado, I would like to I'd like us to jump into this discussion. And my first question to you all is that, the political class have been at the forefront of using the LGBT community as scapegoats, as I already mentioned, and this is usually to gain support from their constituents. And we see this in usually opportune moments, like for instance, like at the onset of the COVID pandemic, then the LGBTQ community was being blamed for the pandemic, and also and a number of times during the election period, and this really comes out during the election periods, and this is already such a polarized time within African elections. So like my question to how have you seen the use of political homophobia manifest in your various contexts? And maybe I will start with you, Davis, and you can share with us your thoughts and insights. But I also like to hear quite a bit about what is ongoing in Ghana right now and the situation right now. So welcome, Davis.
Thank you, Yvonne, for having me, and thank you outright for organizing this very important panel discussion. Well, I can straight away, without wasting time, tell you that in Ghana, we have just been slowly and slightly recovering from a tsunami that almost tried to sweep us out in different ways. One of the things that politicians do, like the topic that you have put up, is that once an election is coming up, politicians want to tell the people what will please them. And what will please the people will probably enable politicians to get the vote from the people, to get the mandate from the people. And so one of the things that politicians will do is to use every opportunity to use LGBTIQ people as the scapegoat, like in Ghana, for instance. Last year, when the election was being planned to come up, as soon as the media got hold of that the Pan-African ILGA want to come and host a conference in Ghana, the religious leaders begin to protest against this meeting. But one of the things government do best is to side with the religious leaders and say the Minister of Gender at the time quickly said that, no, this is a taboo. Ghana will never allow this to happen, just so that they will be favored in the election. And so early this year, as many of you would know, we have had a situation where one of the community organizations was opening their center to serve LGBTIQ people. And once that gets to be known, politicians and religious leaders picked on it and make a great hostile situation about it. And as soon as the religious leaders complain, government key into it. The order was given to shut the place down. Military police went there and shut the place down as if the center was a den of robbers. And then the media used the opportunity to create a lot of media storms. Parents were kicking out their children, family were disowning people, people were being thrown out from the job. This is happening in the midst of the pandemic. Remember, we still have COVID around as well, and then come with this calamity that happened. And so in Ghana, one of the things that we discovered is that as soon as this is happening, Parliament picked it upon himself. As currently as we speak, Parliament is discussing, trying to find a way to pass further draconian laws, copying from Nigeria and Uganda and other places where parliamentarians use the law to further criminalize LGBTIQ people. But one of the things, again, that we are seeing now in Ghana is that a lot of the people who call themselves politicians are religious leaders that are robed in political identity. There are many politicians that say they are bishops, they are reverend, they are pastors, and then they seek the vote of people. And then when they get to parliament, and instead of to be there for everyone, then they begin to express their religious views. So right now in Ghana, LGBTIQ people actually are living in a dilemma, are living in a limbo, not knowing what is going to happen tomorrow. And the threat of further criminalizing LGBT Ghanaians is life, because Parliament has taken it. They need the law. We are not even talking about the unofficial lawyers, the unofficial lawmakers that take laws into their hands to attack LGBT people in different ways. We are now talking about trying to use the legitimate means of criminalizing and further punishing people, which has created a hostile environment and situation for LGBTIQ people in Ghana. And we think that is a shame that government could be partisan in the way that they provide services and support and protection for their citizens. Government needs to be there for everyone. And so that's what is currently going on. The religious leaders, there is a group called the Congress for Proper Human Sexuality. They are the driving force. Once they speak, a lot of members of parliament are in coalition with this group, and they bring that agenda. They always say LGBTIQ have an agenda in Ghana, but actually they have the agenda to further punish and criminalize people. And I also wonder, where is the love of these religious leaders doing the opposite instead of the right thing of inclusion and protecting and taking care of all its citizens? So that's where we are and the kind of things we are seeing in Ghana.
Thank you so much, Davis. And I like the fact that you bring together the politicians and the religious leaders and also media and how they work together to contribute towards this. I mean, it's quite sad also to hear about further laws and the attempt to bring together a legislation that will further criminalize a whole community. I'll move on to Jackson. So Jackson, in Kenya, we have our elections steadily coming through in 2022. Let's hear from you more about the situation in Kenya and how you think these elections are going to turn out with regards to LGBTIQ and LGBTIQ environment in Kenya. Jackson, you're on mute.
Great. Yeah, I mean, pretty much like what you said and what Davis has said, the first thing and the very obvious thing that we see is politicians just using very populist views to gain political mileage. So it is the things that they know will resonate with the majority of the citizenship, things about how we need to maintain our African identity and cultures, things about how we are a nation which is first and foremost a Christian nation or a religious nation. And so in that regard, that's the first thing that they use. And they don't think 2022 will be any different with regards to that. But beyond the very obvious populist agenda and the use of homophobia to gain that populist mass support, we've seen politicians, the other side of that coin is that they use that also to be able to gain support from people who are going to fund their campaigns. You know, we're talking about real financial support. We always say in Kenya that, you know, anti-homophobia and the anti-gay agenda is well-resourced. It's very much alive. I like the fact that, for example, in Ghana that we've had where now there's this organization that is coming there and it's calling itself, you know, the Congress for Proper, you know, Human and Sexual Rights. We've had those ones in Kenya. It's only that they've been, you know, they've never come out and say, this is the group of who we are. But we've seen them when you're doing the petitions, we've seen them when Kenya is hosting World Congress of Churches or Family Congress, you know, events. And they come in and politicians, we've seen politicians take stands which sometimes making verbatim pronouncements of things that we've had being said at those kind of congresses. So for example, in 2013, when we are having the current regime, when they were coming in, the current deputy president was very clear in a deputy presidential debate, being asked about homosexuality. And he said, you know, there's no place for homosexuals in Kenya. Homosexuals are similar to dogs. We've seen politicians use homophobia, again, to just curtail progress in health policy reforms, particularly in policy reforms that would touch on sexual reproductive health and rights. The very vocal and deliberate and powerful push against comprehensive sexuality education, access to safe and legal abortions, you know, preventing equal access and non-discrimination, regardless of you know, people's sexual orientation, gender identity, sexual characteristics. We've seen homophobia being used to tame the judiciary, you know, claiming that when you see judicial officers, judges trying to push agendas for that are progressive human rights agendas, they've been called, you know, judicial activists. And so those arguments are used to maintain, you know, an anti-reform agenda in the judiciary. It's been used also, you know, against civil society, because civil society obviously creates a problem when governments and politicians are not adhering to human rights or protecting the human rights of all their citizens. So we've seen politicians, governments use the arguments that, you know, civil society are encouraging terrorism, are encouraging espionage, and the third bit in that trinity is they're encouraging homosexuality. So again, it comes in there. The other place that we've seen politicians use homophobia is just, of course, the overall human rights mechanisms that are in place, both at national level, at regional level, at international level. How the work, for example, of the Kenya National Commission for Human Rights, or the work of Kenya Human Rights Commission and other human rights organizations being curtailed, and the way that work contributes to the work that we see at the Africa Commission for Human, and People's Rights, how that body is being curtailed because it's the governments and the member states who are able to, to make decisions on whether this body can work. And also just in the way we respond and the way we align as a country when discussions touching on sexual health and rights are being discussed at the office of the Human Rights Commission, at the UN. And so we see homophobia playing a part in all this. And what's the impact of all that? I mean, it becomes hard for the people on the ground. It becomes hard for us to be able to gain acceptance, for us to be able to gain recognition, for the acceptability levels within the country to rise, because people say if God is against you, if the law is against you, then you must be wrong. Recently, just to give a last example, a very brave human rights activist in Kenya, who is also was part of an expedition to climb to the top of Mount Kenya, and this person planted a flag, on top, on the highest peak, a rainbow flag. Recently, another leader of LGBTI rights organization received a letter from a cultural leader saying, you see, that place on top of the mountain is a cultural religious site, and that flag needs to come down. And the irony is that body of elders or cultural leaders who wrote that letter have never probably even gone to that peak themselves. If you tell them to go to the peak and remove the flag, they might not even make it there. So it's really crazy. And it's really real, the effect that all this is having on people. It's having an effect on our ability to gain access to justice, to gain access, to right to health, freedom of association, despite the many good judgments that we've had in the Kenyan courts. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jackson. I mean, you've raised so many things, and I think like one thing that I've really had and that has stood out to me is how all this like is really contributing to the shrinking or shrunken civic space that we are currently seeing, and not just in Kenya, but across the region. And it really does have a very negative impact, and not just on the community, but in the whole society as well, because we are interlinked, as a community with the rest of the family that we live and work with. So like you're saying, talking about CSOs being targeted, and that ultimately affects how we engage at various platforms, and limits the space for our engagement at various platforms. And I think it's quite sad for Kenya to be lumping, LGBTIQ discourse with that of terrorism. I mean, what are you saying to the whole society when you do that? So thank you so much, Jackson. Joanita, maybe you can share with us about Uganda. You just held your elections early this year, and Museveni, of course, didn't fail to say 1, 2, 3 things about the LGBT community. Joanita? Is Joanita still with us? Yes. Joanita, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay,
just like, yes, I am here. Yes, I am here.
Okay, you can continue. Go ahead, Joanita.
I'm here. Yeah. So as like you mentioned, just at the concluded elections in Uganda, of course, that is key whenever elections are coming.
Okay, we seem to have lost Joanita. Eudora, can you share with us the the context in Nigeria, please?
Can you hear me? Okay, so basically in Nigeria, it's no longer in news that there is already a law that criminalizes homosexuals in Nigeria. So in Nigeria alone, to be a homosexual, it's already sentenced you to 14 years imprisonment without anybody even listening to you. And that particular SSM, Same-Sex Marriage Prohibition Act, was for a political favor. You know, they raised the bill 2013, and they had a way forward, back and forth, discuss it. And then when it seems to them like the election is coming up 2015, the president that was sitting on the seat then had to use that to buy the minds of non-state actors, the minds of individuals, because coming to Nigeria, 99.9% of everybody living in Nigeria is they are ruled by morals. So they feel like being gay, it's just like you are the dirtiest thing ever, that you don't even deserve to exist. So then religion also is fueling it in Nigeria. Now, why I was meant to understand that religion is all about love. And now religion, again, it's creating an avenue where homophobia is just, because right now, currently, it's no longer, if you ask them what exactly are the offense of LGBTIQ people, nobody can categorically tell you anything without running to what religion told them about LGBTIQ. And then you keep wondering, why is all this? Religion is supposed to understand that we are human and we didn't create ourselves the way we are. This same God you are worshiping created us. So why do you now have to use your power to suppress us instead of showing us love, just like you're showing to them? So it's basically just should I say, it's a survival of the fittest, right, in Nigeria, because you can't even do anything. Nobody will even want to listen to you because they do not want people out there to say negatively about them. They always want to show positive. And then to think of it, now these people that passed this bill are actually living in closets. These people that passed this bill, they are actually living in closets, but they most of them are so ashamed to understand and accept this is who they are, and then they wouldn't want other people to have to do the same, because they still go behind closed doors and do things they want to do. What's the essence of pushing these bills on people when you also you are living the same life? It's sometimes I just ask myself, like, how did they even get to do this? It's so annoying. And then people have used that SNPA to perpetrate a whole lot of acts in Nigeria. It is not even about the law anymore, because once it gets law, people, there are still ways you can defend yourself. At least there are still processes before they can censor is non-state actors. The problem have the person to the law to be charged. They've already could not raise a hand to save themselves. That is what is exactly the major problem. And this was fueled by SSMP. And then access to health for young people. Imagine young people living with HIV. They cannot even access it because they are scared of what could be done to them. They cannot even live up to themselves because the fear of what is not even about what the state actors will do. The fear of what the non-state actors will do alone is already causing a havoc in Nigeria. Look at young people are dying every day. Young people are committing suicide, but we're not even looking at it. Nobody's even talking about that. They are mostly concerned about their own personal gain. They're not even looking at young people. Today, young people that are living with HIV, 44% of them are LGBTIQ persons. And then we think that we're going to fight, we think we are going to achieve the universal health care when we have these people when we have these people that are supposed to care for, your law criminalizes them. How are we supposed to get to achieve what we want to achieve? I keep telling you, there is no way we can actually go for, there is no way we can achieve the universal health coverage if we did not look at these issues, if we did not look at that laws that restrict them from access to health, which is SSMPA. That law has actually caused a whole havoc in Nigeria. It has not even done any good. But then the harm is not even coming from the law. The harm is coming from this particular, as the non-state actors. Okay, now look at it. A few months ago, one of the people that signed the bill, one of his sons came out as gay, and he came out in open place, like on the internet and all that. And then, okay, we the people that are fighting for this, we're not waiting for him. Okay, your son is this, and you said if anybody is this and identify as this, and then you will have to send the person to 14 years imprisonment. So why are you not talking about your son? The only thing he came out to say on open air is that God made him gay, so for another reason, which is disturbing. Like, I don't even understand how we tend to, but then it is what it is. Nigeria, we are already inside that cage. We are all just struggling of how to pull out of it and get out of that cage. That is it.
Thank you so much, Eudora. And I like the point that you bring out, that the existence of the law has essentially legitimized any reprisals and harm and violations against the LGBTQ community. And, I think that is something that like very strongly comes out from what you have just talked about. Joanita, I hope we'll be able to hear you now and sharing your perspective from Uganda. You might want to turn off your video and see if that would help. Joanita?
Hopefully, because our internet. Okay, let me try that. Yeah. We in Uganda, our internet is not working well. So, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you. Okay.
Hello.
Yes, Joanita, we can hear you. Maybe you want to turn off your video. Maybe that would help. Okay. As Joanita sorts out her internet, maybe we could move on to the second question that I have for you all. And with regards to what we have just discussed, and you've also highlighted like the impact that this state-sponsored homophobia has on the LGBTIQ community. From your various perspectives, what has been done, or what do you think we can do, or what more needs to be done for us to, either mitigate against or to challenge this state-sponsored homophobia, and of course, consequently, the negative impact that it's having on the LGBTIQ community. So I'll start with Jackson on this.
Yeah, thanks. There's a question that has been asked on the Q&A, which I think also speaks to this. I think the first and foremost thing, we're talking about politicians, we're talking about political influence. I think the first and foremost thing that we need to do is we need to open up to working with this unusual allies. I think not only within our communities or within the LGBTI queer movements, I think beyond across the civil society, we've really, and it's for good reasons, but we have operated in in silos, really. We've operated either in this LGBTI silo or in this human rights movement silo. And as much as we've reached out to actors, it has been limited by different factors. Not all of them, actually not many of them, are a fault of our own. But I think that's where we need to venture into. We need to work with politicians more. We need to be able to have more political influence. We need to gain political power, even if it means having queer identifying politicians in spaces of power. So the question I was referring to, somebody asked about an ongoing, currently in Kenya, there's this ongoing referendum, push for referendum. Actually, it's gone past so many stages. We're just waiting for the date where people are going to line up and vote for the Constitution Amendment Bill 2020 in Kenya. The thing that happened in Kenya is between around 2016, 2017, already people are thinking, by the time we're having our general elections, presidential elections in 2022, we are going to have another referendum, because that's how politics has played out in Kenya since 2003, where you do a referendum, political parties weigh their options and they prove to people that we have this clout, and then they go to they go to a general election. And we knew that these questions are going to come. And the first and foremost fear that we had was the referendum should not have questions that are going to make life worse for us, in as far as the law is concerned, in as far as the Constitution is concerned. Now, between that time and now, the movement in Kenya has done a lot in terms of gaining political support, sensitizations with sitting members of parliament. I remember the first time that happened was in 2017. And that has continued. And just like I've responded to that question, I'd like to believe that the fact that we have a whole discussion on a referendum right now that, number one, does not have specific referendum questions, which give the opportunity for somebody to throw in a question that says we need to ensure that anti-homosexuality is in the Constitution, is brought in there. The fact that it is not being used, being queer is not now, like the last referendum, being used as a campaign rhetoric against the BBI, the Constitutional Amendment Bill. I think that is a result, or I'd like to believe that's a result of the interactions that the movement has had with politicians across the divide up till now. And I think that's the kind of engagement that really needs to continue. It really needs to happen, because once you have people who are in positions of power, either are able to sit and consult with you, or they understand the issues that are happening and have taken a human rights perspective on things, then it becomes easier because you have somebody at the table pushing your cause. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jackson. I'll move on to Davis. Can you share with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Yes, thank you. I think from a Ghana perspective, one of the things that we have discovered is that for you to be able to change hearts and minds, you need to find a way to be on the table. We as a movement are lacking a connection with politicians. We are lacking that connection with senior religious leaders. Once we find out that people are not in favor or in support of us, we tend to keep a distance and then form a bubble within our safe space to the best of our understanding. So one of the things we are finding out from the Ghana case study is that our voices, we need to build allies within parliament. We need to build allies within civil societies. We need to build allies within religious leaders. And it's a good strategy. So those of us from the Interfaith Diversity Network that work even with religious leaders. In the Ghana situation, the Ghana Catholic bishops issued a statement in support of what was going on then against the LGBTIQ community. So we wrote to them and point out that using the word crusade is actually standing against all that Jesus is talking about. And they understand the content of our letter to them because we are speaking the language that they will hear. And they immediately sent out a second statement and begin to engage in other media discussion, not using that crusade again. And so therefore it is important not to boycott the opposition completely because you disagree with them. We are at the stage where the Ghana Bishops' Conference are looking into their heavy packed diary to see where they can fit us in to have an engagement and a dialogue with us. And we think that that itself is a success because once we can make them change their rhetoric that pushes on homophobia and violence against the community, we feel that we have made one success. So we need to devise strategies that we will be engaging, even as the politicians right now are discussing further legislation. We are not getting enough information. So the lack of information is also a problem for us because we don't know how to get that information. When it is public, yes, we can take for it. So if we build relationship, then we will be able to get information and to know the direction that the politicians and the religious leaders are going and be able to strategize. So we need to build allies beyond our comfort zone.
Thank you so much. Eudora? Eudora, are you with us?
Yes, I am here.
Okay.
So
you can...
what we can actually do in Nigeria is it's already passed on a bill and that is ongoing. So a whole lot of people are leveraging on that bill in committing so many harm. And then I think if you let me ask me, I think we need to start from enlightening the masses, because if we can be able to create a social change about the ideas of people about the homosexuals, they will be able to support the movement, because that SSMPA was passed based on the general public's idea, even though it's not necessarily general public, but then the crowd they can reach out to, they felt that's the whole general idea. So if we can get the public to get a social change about the ideas of whatever they have in their head about homosexual, we'll be able to do a thing. Then another one, trying to get involved in decision-making places, because just like David said, if you are not in that table, your matters will not be pushed. So once you sit on the table, that is when only you will have your issues and everything. At least when they are talking about it, you will have somebody who is out there who is also pushing it out for you. And then we can also, in a way, create a link between that SSMPA and how it affects the life of young persons, especially in Nigeria, because the increase of healthcare hazard among the youths. So now, and these youths, most of them are either lesbian, gay, or bisexual people. We can actually create a link between and how it help break this thing down.
Okay, thank you so much,
yeah,
Eudora. Thank you. Joanita, will give you a few minutes to respond to both questions. Are you with us?
Yes, I'm here, and hopefully I'm able to submit this time. Our internet is off, on and off, so we use VPN to try and stay on social media. I just changed my VPN and hopefully I'm able to share something with you all. You all know, I don't know if you had President make statements that homosexuals support and fund the opposition. That is usually the scapegoat that we expect, and this time round it still happened. We've seen of the ruling party staging press conferences, trying to seek or seek more votes from Ugandans in pretense that homosexuals are the ones supporting one particular opposition musician. We know of one of the famous Stella Nyanzi, who is an open supporter of homosexuals here in Uganda, could not even
Oh, I think we lost Joanita again. Okay, as we wait for Joanita to reconnect, I'm going to move on to the Q&A. Oh, okay. You want to try one more time, Joanita?
I know it is particularly going to be, it won't go through. I've just been advised it won't go through. Let me stay in as a listener, because it won't happen. It won't happen. I'm advised not to.
Thank you so much, Joanita. We're looking forward to hearing
with this submission
in Uganda, but
sorry, I can't submit, but I will stay in as a listener.
Okay. Thank you so much, Joanita. So what I've heard from all you panelists is that we need to build allies, build relationships that would enable us to get a seat in the table so that we can contribute to the decision-making process. And I think that that is definitely very important for us to be able to, not just create an awareness and not just to educate, but also to control the narrative in one way or another. So thank you again so much for the panelists for sharing with us their reflections on this particular topic. And unfortunately, we weren't able to hear from Joanita, but hopefully we can have another opportunity to have this discussion. I'm going to move on to the Q&A section of this webinar. And I'm just going to go through the chat and check out what we have. So we have one question from Reverend Makali. I think that's how you pronounce your name. I really hope so. And it says, thanks, Eudora. I'm interested in knowing how queer Nigerians are prioritizing political requests for equality when there is still much inequality in service provision, and what strategy can be adopted. So the question is for Eudora around strategies for equality in service provision in Nigeria. Another question. Eudora, you can, oh my, okay. Eudora also just dropped off, but I hope that we could share with them the question and they'll be able to respond hopefully when they reconnect. We also have some comments from the participants, and we have one from Alverna. They say that our situation is the same here, where the government is also using Christianity to denounce the LGBTQ community, and yet they claim that we are a Christian society, like was said by Davis and I think Jackson too. So if we are a Christian society, we are all God's children. To hear politicians saying LGBTQ persons are equal to dogs is just another failed, empty, and limited way of politicians showing how much work we still have to do to educate them all. Yes, and I think that is quite true. A lot still needs to go into the work that we are doing, and a number of strategies would definitely emerge from this and further discussions that will be had around this topic, both here and on other platforms. Um, I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat. So
There are questions in the Q&A
oh, hold on.
back.
Oh, good. Okay, so again, another question from Reverend Macaulay. Is there any plans to support queer candidates in politics in Africa? Also, is there opportunities to create safe spaces for queer people of faith in Africa? What are your thoughts? So I'll just let maybe one person take that question. You can decide, Davis or Jackson can respond to that question. And then another question, political candidates who are queer have not been supported, have not been supported. There has been a few in Malawi and Kenya who had to step back. There must be a strategy to build allyship and support in countries and internationally. Most of these nations have laws that criminalize LGBT. Is this worth consideration? Do you think change is possible? Do we have a plan? So that's another question. I'll let you take those two questions and you can decide how you respond to them. Davis, you can go first and then Jackson can then follow.
Yes, thank you. It's quite a lot. I hope I remember the important aspect, all of the questions. But I think that, yes, there is a desire. You know, one of the things that we will take into account is that in Africa, we are learning. Even in the West, where progress has been made, it has taken them many, many years. And so I think we need to acknowledge that we have to start making those baby steps, taking the Nigeria, the questions that were asked into account. In 2014, the president that signed that bill into a law, he did not succeed in getting re-elected, even though he did that as a to please the opinion of the society. He was still voted out. So I think that as where we are seeing damaging, we can also see the benefit of that and make use of it. Despite this current government in Ghana politicalizing, scapegoating LGBT people for their benefit, the ratio, how people voted in parliament, shows you that people also have something else that they are looking for more than criminalizing LGBTIQ people. I also know that in Nigeria, one of the states, in fact, it's called Edo State in Nigeria, where they were using the perceived sexuality of the current governor in the campaign against him, saying that he is gay, is an homosexual, he shouldn't be voted, but he won the election. And he's currently still the governor of that state, sitting there, even though he did not have to accept, even though he denied the fact that there was a high profile campaign to use one's sexuality, perceived sexuality against them, and it failed, shows that there is hope. I think we need to support those of us who have interest in politics. We need to clearly begin to identify how people test the water, even at least on how to be involved in politics, and then take it up from there. Support those who are interested to become religious leaders and work from there. And I think, as Jide was asking, there is a lot of service that are not being provided for people. And so we need to identify which one is the main issue that we need to look upon now. If you want to change attitude, if you want to change the law, you have to change the attitude of the people. So for me, whether it is politics or out of politics, let us begin to support a level of visibility, because the main thing that our African leaders, political leaders, traditional leaders are saying is that homosexuality is un-African. When we can prove that that narrative is not correct, then we are getting there. But I think that we need to support those who want to involve in politics. We need to support the youths who want to use their story to change the narratives that are currently going on. That's the little contribution that I can give to one or two of those questions. And keep reminding religious leaders that the fact that they are saying that homosexuality is a sin or taboo does not mean that it is true. So we need to be having our own narrative to those voices that are out there. And Jason can add a bit more to that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Davis. I think to the question on support for queer politicians, and Reverend Jide mentioned something about, there's been a candidate in Malawi and in Kenya. I think two things. The first one is, do we want to have candidates who identify as queer publicly, and why do we want that, and what does that serve? And then secondly, do we want people to win elective posts or to be nominated into political positions so that when they're at the table, we know they're going to push a certain agenda? Yeah. Now, the first instance, we are, it's the first, we are almost sure that this person, because they came with this agenda, they came with this identity, even when they go to the table, they will not shift. And they're already going in with knowing that, everybody knowing that this is the agenda that this person is coming with. But I don't think those two things need to be in competition with each other. Because I think, and the lessons that we've had from the past is that in the instances where we've had candidates say that they want to run for political office and participate in elections, the minute in the past that they have mentioned that my identity is this, and they've put the identity at the forefront of their campaign message, then everything else they've said has really not, been taken into account. So I think we need to find a balance. Not in any way saying, yes, be true to your identity, yes, bring it on, but make sure that the main thing that your message is about, the main thing that stands out in your message is the agenda that you want to push, the policies that you want to change, and not only for the queer community, but for every member of your constituent or the people who are going to vote for you. Then the second thing that comes in, and this is to the question of support, is the support in the form of, does the queer community in general say that we're going to back our votes behind this particular candidate, whether it's because they have the identity as one of us, or because they're pushing an agenda that is for us. And the second kind of support that you need is, campaigns are very costly, and we have to do it in a manner that we don't fall into that Uganda situation where you have organizations being charged with money laundering, because they're told the money that the West is giving to a certain politician is going through you. So you are funding politician X for running for president, but the money is really coming from outside the country, because they will have a case. Technically, government will say another government supporting a candidate in our internal elections is interference in our internal political affairs. So then where do we get that financial support? That brings me to the whole aspect of, we also need to have our communities economically empowered so that internally within our own countries, we can support our own politicians, we can support our own causes. And it becomes a whole discussion around, where does the money for the movement come from? Are we able to chant that? Are we able to amass enough economic power within our communities to support our own causes to some extent? So I think it's all part of a circle that or a web that's really interconnected. But if we are going to get traction on those things, that we need to think about it, I believe, even broader than that.
Well, can I just say a little bit on that, by what Jackson now said, is that it's a long-time strategy. I do know of an organization, I think it's in the US, that they prepare and train and support people that want to run for office, different political office, because to run for office, you have to have certain qualities. You have to prepare for it in order to be successful. So I think that we can, the Victory Institute, yes, that is the name. I think that we can begin to adopt a vision like that Victory Institute from an African perspective, and begin to prepare people that want to run from office, and then give them the support. Yes, there will be financial support, but sometimes even where financial support is available, candidates have failed woefully because money is not everything. So I think that we have to have a strategy that we support people. How many people are interested? What are they running for? Are they people that can win election? What I'm seeing in Ghana and what I'm seeing in Africa, if you will win election, you will win election. Your sexuality or perceived sexuality will not prevent you from being successful. Just like I witnessed in Nigeria, where one of the current serving governors, even though they use his perceived sexuality against him, that didn't deter him from being successful and winning the election. But we need to start from somewhere and to package it together and then to deliver. And be successful with it, just to add to what you have said.
Okay, thank you so much. In the interest of time, I'd like to take this opportunity to close the discussion that we are having. There's still a lot more that we can discuss within this this topic, within this theme, and we've barely scratched the surface of the discussion. And I hope that we'll have another platform and another time to continue this discussion and have more in-depth discussion around the political use of homophobia. I'd like to thank the panelists, Davis, Jackson, Eudora, and Joanita, for your time and for sharing your expertise and your reflections on this particular subject matter. I'd also want to thank everybody who joined us really for this discussion, for taking your time to be a part of it. So thank you so much. And lastly, I would invite all of you to take time and visit our website and check out our upcoming webinars in our Out Talk series. I'll just put the link in the chat box. So thank you so much to everybody, and I'd like to wish you all a good day, good evening, good morning, and yeah, let's all stay safe during this time. Thank you all so much, and have a good one. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Hi, Louisa, if you are listening, how are you?
Hi, David. It's great to see you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.